Happy Thursday and welcome back to the You Good Podcast, the podcast where oversharing is encouraged and the thoughts get real. I'm your host, C-Rod, and as always, this is my co-host, Nick.
It's me.
This week hits close to home, literally. We are sitting down with my cousin, Candice Seremeta, older sister of one of our earlier guests, Chris Seremeta, the only guest to have two parts. She is someone who has been part of my life since we were kids, from growing up side by side to navigating adulthood and parenthood. We are talking about responsibilities, pressure, healthcare, grief, family, and what it's like when life asks you to grow up before you're ready. Welcome to episode 35, The Godmother I Forgot. Let's get into it. Nicholas.
Yes, sir.
Happy Thursday. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Cato had his surgery. I know that we've talked about that before. And they were able to relieve him of his cancerous tumor. We haven't got the results back yet, but all is good in Cato's world, so that means all is good in my world.
That's awesome. I'm glad he's good. I'm glad he is on the mend.
He is on the mend, on the mend. Speaking of the medical field and being on the mend, today's guest, we are joined by the infamous godmother of my eldest daughter,
Are you sure?
Candice Seremeta. She is an RN. She is the oldest of four. She's someone who has been a part of my life since childhood. Nick, you and her also go way back. Candice,
Yes.
welcome to the You Good Podcast, episode 35. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yay. Hello. Welcome.
What, Nick, give me something new that's going on in your life that we haven't chatted about recently.
I am going to be at the airport when this gets released, so I am going up to New York for a few days. Get the hell out of Dodge.
And what are you going up to New York for?
Seeing my girlfriend and a couple buddies. So
beautiful. Candice and I have some fun times and trips up to New York, right, Candice? We'll get into that later. I'm very excited. I tried to find my shirt. I actually still have my shirt from the Home and Home tour. I'm sure it doesn't fit me. I'm sure it doesn't fit me, but I tried to find it to wear. Instead, I wore my Lord short. Nick, what shirt do you have on?
You're killing me, Smalls.
I love that we're doing video now. We can wear fun t-shirts. This is just something that was already in my dresser drawer.
Yeah, we also have to make sure we're groomed and camera ready now.
I don't like that part. That part.
Same. I shaved, and right before I was like, "Oh, I look like a bum if I don't shave. People are gonna be asking questions. Is this dude homeless?"
Might be homeless.
Maybe. No. I'm in a home.
I don't know if you guys have seen the I guess social media blow up of the next petition for the next Super Bowl show. Have you guys seen that by chance?
Is it Taylor Swift?
No. Candice?
No idea.
I feel like I did see a clip on it, but I'm so overseeing that shit that I kind of just scrolled past it.
The Backstreet Boys want to... Don't make that face. The Backstreet Boys on the Super Bowl halftime show. Dude, they're raking in like
baby.
Yeah. They're raking in like $4 million a night right now in Vegas at the Sphere.
They're at
Good
the
for
Sphere,
them,
right?
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just finished up their residency, but they added a few more dates for this month. But I am trying to get out there if they announce a second residency. They're either going to renew their residency or go on a global world tour, and I'm really hoping they stay in Vegas because I'd like to go see them in the Sphere. No? Why?
When I was there, they were it was the Eagles or someone.
Well, the Eagles and the Wizard of Oz The Backstreet Boys,
Kenny Chesney was just there recently.
Kenny Chesney.
Or
There's another.
gonna be there. So I
There's
looked
an,
into going, but it was super expensive.
yeah, there's another country singer there too, and they're like rotational. So the residency is like on rotation, Nick. But the Spice Girls are potentially rumored to maybe do a residency there as well.
Spice up your life.
First
Like,
concert.
the tickets are absolutely ridiculous for anything at the Sphere. I think Preston was looking at the tickets and they're like $600-700 just to get in.
Just be a high roller. It'll be fine.
High roller. Speaking of Backstreet Boys, the rotational opener this week, Nick, is your favorite.
Hell yeah.
Favorite song. Your song. Song
Yep.
or no song.
That's
So
my
Candice,
favorite.
we try to do rotational openers. I know that you're an avid listener of the show. You've probably heard this one before. It will be a song maybe in the last week or so that has been keeping you going, bringing you mental clarity, whatever it might be, just something that has amped you up. Nick, I will go with you first. What side are you going to be on? This side. And give me your rotational opener for this week.
I have Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist, is coming out with a solo album next month, so he's been dropping singles, and he covered Frank Ocean's "Thinking About You," where he plays the trumpet, and it's so smooth. He's also playing the bass on it, I'm assuming, but it's pretty dope. So that's what I've been listening to.
That's pretty dope. I'll have to listen to that one. Was that a Spotify recommendation that you got? Or was
No,
this something you listened to?
it was something that I sought out because I saw an interview that he did about it. Actually, Instagram. I saw it on Instagram, and he had talked about when Frank Ocean put that whole album out, he listened to it like 10,000 times, and he was like, "I have to cover this song." So
Nice.
once I heard that, I was like, "All right," and then I heard just a little snippet of it. I was like, "Yeah, all right."
And what does that do for you? Why is that your song?
It's just jazzy. I like the Frank Ocean song, so it I don't know. You know how I like jazz and all that, so
You like the flutes, the skin
Spoke-
flutes. That's right.
yeah, skin flutes all day. My favorite.
Candice, coming your way. Give me your song of the song of the week.
So, song of the week, I would say a song that I've been recently listening to, very random, but So Fresh and So Clean by Outkast.
Ooh. Yes. And is that because you get done working in your dirty scrubs and you scrub down? You're like, I'm so fresh and so clean.
Honestly, so my son was playing in the dirt over the weekend, and I was trying to find a song to put to his video that would indicate how dirty he was, but that was what kept coming up. So I just kept listening to it, and I was like, damn, this takes me back. But yeah, so fresh and so clean.
Nice.
I love that. I love that.
What about you?
A dirty boy. He is a dirty boy.
Crod.
So
what have you been listening to?
I've ever since Chris and Callie and I went to see Cascade, I've just been, I guess, diving back into EDM music, getting that itch to go to music festivals, and just now my algorithm is 2010s EDM was the best EDM era, right? and everything that was best from back then. So I've been listening to a lot of Alesso, specifically If I Lose Myself, right? If I lose myself tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get a clip to you for free. That'll be a good clip. Clip that. Mark that. Boom. But yeah, I made a whole new EDM 2000 I don't know, 10 to 2020, maybe 17 playlist on Spotify, and I've been listening to a lot of the old bangers from back in the day, and it's been juicing me up, I don't know.
Nice.
I'm getting the itch to maybe work out a little bit more listening to it, maybe go for a bike ride, maybe take care of myself.
Maybe I should listen to that.
The cold snap is gone, at least down here in Florida. Thank Lord for
I'm
us.
so not looking forward to that.
They say that March is technically, who said this? James Vanderbeek said that March is
Rest in
technically
peace.
the rebirth of life, and that's when the year should start. And instead of December when we're trapped in cold and gloom.
I mean, spring break. March is spring break, baby. That's like beach time.
That's life.
For us.
Yeah. Sucks to suck.
Yeah, I was like, up north is still in snow. I'm
What part of
leaving
New York?
80-degree weather on the city, but
Oh, there's so
thank
much
God.
snow.
Oh,
So
yeah.
much snow.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm leaving 80-degree weather for like 40-degree highs. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is terrible. I'm like, I'm in shorts, and I have to now bundle up.
You'll
I
be
mean, you
all
could
right.
still wear shorts if you
I mean,
want.
not
I wouldn't
comfortably.
recommend it.
It's not going to be very comfortable.
And speaking of rest in peace, James Vanderbeek, crazy that he died, but I just rewatched Varsity Blues. When's the last time you guys seen that movie?
Tan.
Within the past 3 months, I'd say we watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Something
because you
about
know the
Mox, dude.
what's her
Mox
name?
has it.
What's that chick's name? The whipped cream
Amy
titty
Smart?
girl. No.
Oh, the whipped cream titty girl.
She's
don't
in
know.
Yeah.
Landman.
Yeah, but
Landman.
we watched
what-
Landman, and that was like one of her earlier.
What is her name?
I think it starts with an L. I'm going with
I don't
that.
know. But I forgot about the whipped cream scene, and man,
Yeah.
Whipped cream bikini works
whipped
every
cream
time.
bikini works every time. It's crazy that 3 of them are all passed away because I didn't realize that Paul Walker was in that movie, even though he doesn't have a big role.
He's okay.
What?
He's the whole reason Mox becomes the starter.
But he doesn't have a big role. He's in the movie. He gets injured, then you don't see him for like an hour until he becomes the coach all of a sudden.
Well, he's the only
Like
one that
people
knows
act
the
like
offense.
Paul Walker was starring in that movie, but it's James Vanderbeek is the star of that movie. And I didn't realize that Amy Smart was in that movie too. So just kind of wild.
How do you not realize these things?
I mean, last time I saw that movie was in what, high school 20 years ago? I don't know. But now I'm going to go down a path and I'm going to watch Friday Night Lights, and I might go and watch.
That's a good one.
What's the Denzel Washington one?
Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans?
Yeah,
I
that's
might
awesome.
Watch a bunch of sports
What about
movies.
Blindside? That's a good one.
I've actually never seen that movie.
You've never seen
that
Blindside?
No.
Even though it's about
the
all
Ravens.
right. It's all right.
It's good.
Remember the Titans is by far the best football movie ever made.
They don't make sports movies like that anymore.
Strong side.
It's like I kind of think I try and think back about what sports movies have came out that have since 15 maybe. Can you guys think of any sports movies that have been iconic like the ones we just kind of named? No.
Maybe
like Rudy. Was that the last one that came out? Rudy
was before that, buddy.
I don't know.
Rudy was the 80s.
What?
The 80s.
Not the Rudy?
No, didn't they remake Rudy?
You know what I was just watching the other night, and I don't know when it came out, but Miracle.
93.
Miracle's good.
I
fell asleep, but I'd like
Kicking
to
and
finish watching
Screaming,
it.
but it's not a real movie. Trying to think like based off real events.
Rudy came out in 93. I thought they remade it. Anyways,
they definitely didn't remake that. That definitely didn't happen.
So we have a guest here who I have a lot of history with.
What?
Instead of just talking about EDM and sports movies.
Sports movies.
There's a guest.
I want to. I don't know. A lot of relationships, I guess, that we talk about and friendships that happen. They're typically ones that start in high school or start in adulthood, and I don't know. I can't even remember one of the first times that we hung out because we've known each other since we were 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, since we were making memories.
Yeah,
like literally.
So I want to rewind right before kids, before the careers. We'll talk about that. We'll get into some crazy trips that we had. I want to get back to where it all started and kind of start from the beginning. But I guess before we get into that, what kind of relationship do you and Nick have, right? You guys have known each other for a while as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've known Nick since I don't know if it was middle school, elementary school. I just remember that Nick was neighbors with Ashley Hardy,
Yeah.
and I was really good friends with her growing up, like elementary school and stuff. And I'll never forget playing in your yard catching grasshoppers.
Yeah. I it was I known Ashley since I was 4, so I mean, it could
Yeah.
be
So
any time from then
between like, because I
on.
think I met Ashley in kindergarten. So I mean, probably
Yeah.
like longevity wise, like similar, but just the closeness. Like Nick and I weren't super close the way
Mhm.
you and I were, Chris, but we've
Yeah.
known each other a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely going on 30, at least probably 30.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want people to think about, right, and we'll talk about this. You are the oldest of four, and I guess technically you're not the oldest in your family because of Timmy, right? But
Right.
in your immediate family, in your immediate household, you were the oldest sibling. And what I want to talk about, because we haven't had a lot of eldest siblings on, is there I guess a thought process of I have to grow up faster, right? Or be more mature in a household where I'm the oldest because now there's another kid and maybe mom and dad need help. Now there's another kid. Now there's three other kids. And I think there's a lot of pressure on the eldest to have to step up and be more responsible instead of getting to enjoy, right, their childhood. And I'm not saying you didn't enjoy your childhood, but there was still that notion of, hey, you're the eldest in the house. We have three little babies running around, and maybe there's a pressure of you have to be more responsible. Walk
So,
me through what that was like, just in your household.
yeah. So, in my house growing up, like Chris said, I do have an older brother. He didn't live with me growing up, but he would come and visit for summers and stuff. But between myself and my three younger siblings, my brother, my sister, and I are less than 4 years apart. So, our age difference wasn't really that much. And my youngest brother and I are 8 years apart. So, there was a little bit more of that gap there. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I never felt that pressure of, like, having to play the role of a parent, like, taking care of my siblings and making sure that they're up and get to school and making sure that like, helping with their homework and making dinners and feeding them because my mom was always there. But I had my own, like, personal sense of needing to set an example and be a role model just because, I mean, they were my younger siblings, and I didn't want, you know, to have them think that, you know, doing bad things was appropriate. And, there were
Mm,
things that, sometimes my mom would say, like, oh, you need to set a good example for them. You need to, you know, be a role model for them. But I never felt pressured by my parents to be a parent. I was
mhm,
always able to be a kid and grow up and just like they were. I mean, we were close in age. My brother and I were only a year apart in school. My sister and I a few years. So at one point, like in high school, all three of us were in high school at the same time
mhm.
for at least a year.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I guess it wasn't I didn't feel the pressure, but I just felt like I had my own expectation of myself to be a good role model for my siblings.
Which was what?
Being responsible, not getting in trouble, going to school, doing my homework, listening to my parents. Like, I'm sure like all of us, we probably didn't always do those things, but I did try to set good examples by, you know, striving not to disappoint my parents because
Yeah.
that was always like the big thing. Like I was more afraid of disappointing my mom than like consequences from other places. So when I did something that resulted with the "I'm so disappointed in you," like that was worse than like actually being grounded or being in trouble for whatever it was that I did.
Do you feel
Some
like
way
you're
worse.
one of the how do I phrase this question without upsetting other people in your family who might be listening? Do you think you're the most mature
Yeah,
of
for sure. I mean, I just and, and it's we were all given the same tools
Yeah.
in life, I feel like. My mom instilled the same things in all of us, work hard, get an education, be able to take care of yourself. You know, my dad always said, whatever you're going to do in life, make sure you work hard at it and be the best you can be at whatever it is you do. Like if you choose to wait tables the rest of your life, make sure you're good at it. You know, I mean, he
Mhm.
didn't want me to do that forever, but if that's what I chose to do, he just wanted me to make sure that, I gave everything my all, no matter what I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Love that.
I listened to some of the things that they told me, whereas some of my siblings may or may not have. But I feel like in the long run, when you look back at it, I have to give kudos to my parents because they have 5 kids and we at least all graduated from high school, weren't drug addicts, didn't have kids at 15, 16. We have good relationships with each other, good relationships with our parents. So I'd have to
Yeah.
give a lot of that credit to them. But also, I give credit to myself as well because, we all have choices to make and our choices can have consequences. And even young, some of the poor choices we make, you just hope that they don't have long life lasting effects. So,
Yeah. It's funny because you bring up one point about just making some early decisions, and I remember being young when you bought your first house,
yeah,
and it was just like, "Yeah, Candace is moving out, she just bought her own house," and we're all like, "Wait, what? How old were you when you bought that house?"
20.
22
Mm.
years old, which most people don't buy houses at 22. I don't think I bought my first house till I was, like, 30.
Yeah.
But what I guess what newfound pressures came with being 22 years old, still trying to figure out life, still trying to figure out your career, right? You probably just graduated and now you're trying to navigate this whole new spectrum of home ownership.
Yeah. I mean, like when I graduated high school, I moved out. I had an apartment. I paid $960 a month for an apartment that I split with somebody. After a year, it fell apart because my roommate at the time was in a relationship, so she was more into that, and I was just like, "Well, fuck it. I guess I'm gonna go back home because I don't wanna rent somewhere by myself." So I went back home, but since I had moved out, growing up with a big family, my siblings and I, we shared bedrooms, so as soon as I moved out, like, my brother took my room, so when I came back, I didn't really have a room. I had a space, but it
Yeah.
was, not that I was not welcomed there, but, I just
Well,
didn't
because you
have.
had 3 bedrooms for 4 kids, right?
Well, growing up,
Because
it
somebody was
was
always bunking.
2 and 2. So Jessica and I were in a room together, Chris and Richie were together, and then after, like, Hurricane Charlie came and, like, destroyed the whole back of the house, they turned what was my dad's office into my sister's
That's
room.
right.
And
That's right.
then so we had our own room, but the boys still shared, so as soon as I moved out, then Richie moved into that room. So when I
Hmm.
came back to the house, everybody else was still living there. So I stayed in like the playroom where the Murphy bed was and I had space, but it wasn't what I
Yeah,
was used to when I had an
wasn't
apartment.
your own.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at that point I was like, I think I want to buy a house. But I didn't have that pressure of like, I need to buy a house right now. I need to find one right now. I have nowhere to live. Like, gotta find it. So I kind of took my time and looked around. The housing market was in the toilet because it was 2010 when I bought the house. The market crashed like a few years before then. So it was
2008.
like,
2008.
yeah, so it was like prime time to do something like that. So um what was hard though is like, I had to come to the realization that when I buy a house, I have to buy a house that I can afford by myself. I don't want to depend on a roommate. I don't want to depend on anybody else. I want to be able to do it on my own. So that narrowed my options, because I didn't want to get in over my head and then regret my decision,
Yeah.
and those are things that, my mom helped me with those things. Like she recommended, don't depend on having a roommate. And, because I really, for a short period of time here and there, I did have roommates, but a lot of the time I did live there by myself, and I was able to do that because the house was cheap.
Yeah,
That house, the mortgage, insurance, everything was less than that apartment was.
right. And
So,
I think even when, you do have sibling or, not siblings, when you have roommates, it's still a marker of, "Hey, if I'm alone, can I afford this by myself?" Well,
right.
now, if I get people to go in with me, that's just,
Bonus. Yeah.
a bonus to owning the house. No, I love
Yeah.
that. Nick, you are a sibling as well. Share your thoughts on feeling responsibility for being an eldest or being an older sibling. What was that like in your household?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom until middle school, and my mom and my dad had issues, got separated, and she then started working, so I didn't have to be responsible for them until then, and then
Yeah.
I had to get them up for work or for school and make sure they got out to the bus or whatever because no one else was there, and it was my responsibility because 'cause I'm the oldest. And I did have a question though for Candace, and it was, did as did the rules that your parents have for your siblings get, like, less and less as they got, like, you went down the line? Because,
Right.
like,
Like they
I
were over
had the
that shit
most
by the time
fucking
they got to
rules,
the end.
and then by the end of it, he was stealing and doing whatever, so I'm like, there were no rules by the end of it, so I'm like, was that your experience, or was mine unique in that?
So my parents had few rules. There weren't a ton of rules. And sometimes, like as an adult now, I say to my mom, like, she was a pushover.
Mm.
Like my dad was picky, my siblings are picky, so she'd make 3 different dinners. She catered to everybody, but I mean, she loved it, and she would
Mhm.
do it all over again the same way. She might say she wouldn't, but she would because that's just her personality. But the rules were minimal, like, and now looking back at it as a parent, I'm like, well, those are simple rules because it's safety. But when it came to like my youngest brother, who's 8 years younger than me, like, I feel like they were just a little more lax, but he's just so chill, and he's kinda, like, straight edged, like,
Mm.
he's not into mischief and never, like, got into trouble. If anything, he was probably the easiest because he's go with the flow. He was
Uh.
never a partier, never a drinker, never got caught smoking pot, never got caught smoking cigarettes, never got caught, letting somebody else drive their car when they had no driver's
Doing
license and they
cocaine?
were drunk. That was me. So, I mean, I think they were blessed in the sense that it just didn't happen like that. Like
Mm.
I think, I got in trouble for a handful of things. I don't think it was anything crazy, but got caught sneaking out, caught smoking, like, things that teenagers do. But by the time my youngest brother came around, I don't know if they would have been burnt out and tired of dealing with it, but he just never gave him any shit.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I do. Would you? Obviously, you love your siblings, and you guys are all very close to this day. Was there ever a time, maybe it was just when Chris was born, right, or then when Jessica was there? But was there ever a time you wished you were an only child or had your own space? Was it ever too much?
No, not really. I really love having siblings. And for you, Chris, as an only child, like, I felt like you were one of my siblings also, because you were just always part of the family too.
Mhm.
I remember late nights playing Sega and hanging out, and like you were always just part of the family. You were there for the holidays, there for the birthdays, there for the Christmases, like watching videos from when we were kids. And my sister's trying to open her birthday presents, and my mom and your mom, Chris, stop opening leave her alone. Those are for her. Stop. And it wasn't just to one. It's very convenient that you're both named Chris because
Yeah.
it just echoed like it was addressing both of you. But no, I mean, I really loved having siblings. Even when it was frustrating and annoying at times, like sharing a room with my sister sometimes, you know, got to be annoying. 4 years apart. There's a point in life where you're
Right.
into other things compared to your sibling who's 4 years younger than you, and they're annoying. But I remember I used to tell my sister, like, if she didn't massage my feet at night, I would tell on her, and she thought she'd get in trouble, so she'd do it.
Yeah, I mean, that was my perspective too. As an only child, I always wanted brothers and sisters. I always wish I had brothers and sisters, and I always just craved that attention of being with somebody else. So I think that when we finally moved next to you, it was great. The only thing that sucked was having my cat attacks, my allergy attacks, and I
Yeah.
mean, till this day, I still can't go to your mom's house without dying, and that just sucks. 'Cause I'm definitely allergic to cats. They always had 2 to 4 cats running around the house at all times, like, since I've known them, I think they never had less than 2 cats in the house,
Mhm.
and that led to sometimes I would come to spend the night or sleep over, and my mom would have to come pick me up in the middle of the night because I was
Having, like,
having
an asthma
an asthma
attack.
attack. Or once we, lived next to them, it's like, all right, I have to excuse myself. And unfortunately, even if, it's like Christmas time, I got to go because I'm dying. So I'm going to go
Right.
next door. You can come hang out with me, even though all the stuff's over here, but I'll be next door. But it was definitely a boost to who I was because now all of a sudden I have, you know, 2, 3, 4 more siblings that are a part of who I am. And I think that you and I think our closest years, right? We're much closer now probably than that we've ever been, but I think some of our closer years were probably around that high school, early college. We went to a lot of parties together.
Mhm.
Our family cruises were always great. That was one of my favorite things growing up. What would you say are some of your earliest childhood memories and moments? Anything off the top of the mind?
Like, earliest or most memorable or both, or
Both, either or for us.
For us, earliest that I can remember is, the holidays, Christmas Eve at my mom's with,
Mm.
like, opening presents and stuff, and then just the playing Sega, playing Sonic, late night, and I'll never forget one time when we were kids, I was staying at your house when you still lived over in 3rd area, Deltona, and we were supposed to be going to sleep, and remember that it was a not really a board game, but it was the marbles, and it made, like, a star shaped, and they were colored, and you had to, like, move the marbles.
Linko, no,
Chinese, isn't that just Chinese?
I don't know, I don't remember what it was
Kerplunk.
called, but Kerplunk? No, Kerplunk
No,
is, like, where you pull the sticks out. He sounded so confident.
It's like Kerplunk.
Well, whatever it was, I remember we had they were all set up on the marbles, and your mom was
I think
like,
that's
we could
Oh,
Chinese
Chinese
checkers.
checkers.
I think
Chinese
that's
Yeah.
Chinese
checkers, yeah.
checkers. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
and we heard your mom coming, so we, like, slid the whole thing underneath your bed, and we were acting like we were sleeping, and she came in and, like, was, like, checking on you, like, in your face, like, checking to see if you're sleeping, and she kicked the thing on accident, and all the marbles went flying, so she knew that we were up, like, playing games, and she was like, "You're supposed to be sleeping." She was freaking out, but
That's hilarious.
yeah, that was it's
That's
cool.
hilarious.
But, most memorable, our trip to New York was awesome to see Eminem and Jay-Z. That was
We'll
probably
talk about that's
yeah.
a later life moment. We'll talk about that
Okay.
later.
It doesn't feel like it was that
Specific
long
to
ago.
childhood.
Yeah, so those early childhood cruises that we went on too when we were still kids before we were actually, like,
Underage. Yup.
able to drink, those are fun. My dad banging on the door or shoving alcohol bottles into little Richie's belt loops so he can bring it back on the cruise ship.
Yes. So, Nick, have you ever been on a cruise pre-21? Like, before you were 21?
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, they used to let you off in Jamaica or whatever, and I think we were 16, 17 years old at
Yeah.
the time, and I just remember we would still be in port, and what we would do is we would come back on the cruise ship right before we left, and we'd put on, like, big old jeans and big T-shirts, right? We'd get out of our bathing suits and everything, and we'd go back out into the island, and what we would do is we would buy these bottles of liquor. I remember it was the what is it, 150 proof white
You're like the
Jamaican rum or
Jamaican rum.
something, and we would get the bottle and we would just shove it into our pants, and we would walk stiff to try and get back into the cruise, and that's how we would sneak liquor bottle. That wouldn't work in
Smuggle the
today's world.
alcohol.
But yeah,
Not at
and
all.
I don't know if you remember this, Candice, but your dad had come in. Somehow they knew that we had snuck alcohol in, and we were trying to hide them in the
In
cabin
the
itself.
bunk
So like,
bed, yeah,
yeah,
and it
in
got,
the
like,
bunk bed
smashed in there.
that you couldn't open
Right,
without
without a key.
the
And I think we had rooms where they weren't, like they weren't
no. We had to like call the people to open it for us, but then we're like, all
Yeah.
right, well, they're gonna open this and see a
All these
liquor bottle.
liquor
But then
bottles falling out.
I remember we also stuck it in the toilet, and that's your
Yes, in
dad
the
found
back.
one in the
Yeah.
toilet.
So
Yeah.
that's like so the funniest part about that though is that like my dad was the only adult that didn't know what was going on, and when he found out he was fucking livid.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm in the shower and Chrissy and I were sharing rooms and I'm in the shower and my dad's pounding on the door and I'm like, I'm in the shower. I'm not handling that. She's like, but it's your dad. I'm like, answer it.
Mhm.
And the liquor
Yeah.
bottles are like in the tank of the toilet.
Just floating.
And
Upper
all the other
deckers.
parents knew that we were drinking, and they were fine with it as long as we, were responsible. And I
Responsible.
just Richie lost his shit. I remember. I'll never forget that. Uh-huh. Nick, before we kind of move on, I have one more just experience that I want to talk with Candice about. Was there any other questions just in terms of childhood, being the oldest siblings, or anything like that before we kind of move on here?
No, I kind of answered the other question I had about being the oldest sibling because I
Yeah.
am one. So I just wanted to know, like I said, if her experience with certain aspects were the same or different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about a story. So last guest that we had on, Candice, the infamous C-Rod getting fired from Appleton's Cafe came up, and I kind of exposed myself of being fired from my mom's restaurant for the umpteenth time and for the final time. But you had also worked at Appleton's before I did. You
Yeah,
had worked
man.
there longer than I did.
A
You know,
long time.
talk to me about that experience of just having so much responsibility at a restaurant, right? With the opening and the closing, handling the partying much better than I had because you were always showing up on time. You rarely, ever were a no call, no show, which I did that all the time. But what was your perspective of working at the family restaurant?
So I'm flattered that you think that I showed up on time. I was
One,
late. I was late often because I was often irresponsible the night before, but I always showed up. I always showed up, whether I was in the condition to work or not. I've spent a lot of times at Appleton's not really in their mind wise.
Sober.
Yeah. But Appleton's was a huge part of my life. I mean, I started working there. I think your mom took me to take your daughter to work day when I was like 15, and I like bus tables and stuff. And then it kind of evolved from
called
there.
child labor,
Child
Free.
labor, no breaks.
slave labor.
And it just kind of evolved from there. I started working there on weekends. I mean, growing up, I had no free weekends because I literally worked there every weekend. I couldn't drive there because I wasn't old enough. I couldn't serve alcohol there because I wasn't old enough. So somebody else had to do those things for me until I could drive. But, I really, I appreciate all your mom did for me there too, because she helped develop my work ethic and helped build the type of employee that I am. I was young and, went out and had a hard time getting to work on time, but I always showed up. That was part of, Appleton's part of the reason why I was able to do some of the things that I did at a young age, like buy a house and pay off a car early and stuff, was because of Appleton's. I mean, I made really good money there and I saved it. I didn't
Yeah.
blow it every day. I worked in the service industry for a long time and I had a lot of coworkers that were waiting on paychecks to hit because they were at the bar and they had 80 cents in their account and, they weren't making their rent payment, but they were definitely getting fucked up that night.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't like that. I wanted to save money. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I just took that and ran with it. And I worked at Appleton's all the way up until they closed.
Yeah.
I mean, even after I was a nurse, I used to work night shift at the hospital and then go work at Appleton's afterward. I highly recommend not doing that. It sucked. But I mean, I did that for a short period of time, and I appreciate everything that that place gave me because it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I will say though, one time, and I was laughing when you were talking about the time you got fired. I didn't get fired, but there was one time that I was so hungover, probably still drunk, and I was supposed to be there at 8. And at this time, like Megan, you, me, we were like habitually late, not showing up on time. Megan's like 6 hours late, and we're both supposed to be opening, and we were out the night before. We weren't allowed to work together anymore. That all, the threats, and then we worked together 3 weeks later. But it was like 7:58, and your mom calls me. She's like, "If you're not pulling in this parking lot right now, don't worry about coming in." I'm like, "Fuck yeah." I was still laying in bed. I'm like, "Thank you." I'm like, "Technically, I didn't call out and not show. You told me not to come in." So,
I didn't
um,
no call, no show. I was on my way.
right? You told me not to come in. But yeah, so Appleton's was great. I do miss that place, especially living right around the corner from it. I miss
Oh,
being
yeah.
able to just swing by and check it out.
I mean, it was perfect when I was in college, just going there and getting free food, or bringing my fraternity brothers and getting free food, or coming home from work, and my mom would just be like, "Here's 5 pounds of muffins, and here's 5 pounds of biscuits and gravy, take this home to the boys." And I'm like, "Oh." Half of the time we just had free food stocked up in our fridge. It was r ridiculous, ridiculous. So we go from the service industry, right, to the healthcare industry. And I think as we segment here, the pressure doesn't stop as you get older. The pressure mounts up as you go into a different field. One thing that I do want to touch on, last week we had a um, mental health counselor on, right, and we got to talk from the perspective from his side that we don't ever get to talk about, and that's what I want to dive into now. We talk about healthcare and loss and the mental load that, maybe an RN has to have. I guess let's start with what led you to the medical field, and how did that come about, going from being in the service industry for so long?
Uh, So I've always enjoyed caring for people, and so from a young age, I always knew I wanted to do something either in health or. And prior to being a nurse, I went to fire school and did EMS and did that for a while, and then realized that my best career move would be to go into nursing, as it's so versatile. You can change it along with what you have going on in your life. You can work days, you can work nights, you can work weekends only, weekdays only, doctor's offices, hospitals. Like, it's just, there's so many different things you can do. I mean, you can be a nurse and never touch a patient ever. In
Yeah.
leadership,
Mm.
research. I mean, there's unlimited options with a career like that. And I knew that it would be a career where there was always a need for it. And I really enjoyed it. They always say you don't go into nursing for the money, you go into it because you really enjoy helping people. And and that even goes back to like the service industry. Like, it meant a lot to me that people had like a good service experience, that their food was
Yep.
good, their order was right, and that the service was good. Like, there's nothing worse
Something
than
that doesn't
going
happen in today's
going
world.
out somewhere and the service sucks, it's expensive, the food sucks, and they don't give a shit. That's the problem. Like, that's what irritates me, is like people don't care. And in transitioning from the service industry to healthcare, I almost feel like it's a similar thing. Like, I'm in an area where I'm trying to keep people happy, safe, comfortable. And now in my career, with the company that I work for, they're all about service standards, customer service and stuff. And I think that is important. I mean, people that are going to hospitals for procedures or, they have choices of where they go, and it's really expensive.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
healthcare is expensive, and when you go somewhere, like, you don't wanna get a shitty nurse. It
Right.
it sucks. Like, I've been the family member to a patient and have seen some horrible, horrible things, and I'm very grateful that I have a knowledge and background in the field because I've been able to help advocate for my family in ways that I don't know, if other patients would get the same outcomes if they had a family member who has no clue what's going on. So,
Mm.
um,
100%.
that's kind of
100%.
why I went into healthcare because I really enjoy helping people, but my path in healthcare has changed significantly since I've started. I've been a nurse for 10 years, and, when I started nursing, I worked in a neurocritical care unit, which was or is stroke patients. So I worked at a comprehensive stroke center. After I started working there, I thought everybody's having a stroke and maybe I'm going to have a stroke next. Everybody falls in the shower and breaks their back. And it was
Uh-huh.
like, whoa, like this
Yeah.
is crazy. And I thought that I was going to be working with, super old people. And, it's just that wasn't the case. They were young. They were people my parents' age, people younger than me, people my age. It's just really eye opening that, like, this could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
And I then realized that it's not that it's happening to everybody, but everybody that it's happening to is coming here because this is the best facility that they could go to. But it
It
gets
also
heavy.
puts things in a different perspective too, when, like, normal people that aren't in healthcare don't see all of that, right?
Mhm.
You're around it all the time, and we might think, "Oh, maybe," and I'm just saying that I know strokes happen all the time, but, maybe we're out there like, "Oh, strokes don't happen all the time. It won't happen to me," right? But when you're seeing it and it's putting that in front of you, I think that
Yeah.
changes your perspective completely. What's something that people don't understand about working in healthcare?
So this is a perfect example for me as people might not understand it as a patient or family member when you're looking at it from a nursing perspective, but then when you flip it around and you become the patient or the family member, it's really eye-opening. Like, something that I used to do all the time is, the family is there with the patient, they bring the patient in, "Oh, we're gonna get them settled, we're gonna do this, that, and the other. We'll come get you in, like, 30 minutes." And then we do what we need to do. The 30 minutes has come. It's been a little more than 30 minutes. Now I'm going to grab a cup of coffee really quick, go grab this, go do that, chat with my neighbor for a second. Well, meanwhile, this family member is sitting in the waiting room. All they're doing is staring at a clock, waiting for the 30-minute mark for them to come give me updates, tell me what's going on. And nobody's coming. So they think
Yep.
the worst. And, you know, I experienced that when Danny was in his accident and they told me, "Oh, we're gonna get him settled in and we'll come get you." And nobody ever came for the longest time. And I'm like, dude, I never really thought about it. That when you tell somebody that, like, this is my everyday life. But for this person, this is the worst moment of their life.
Mhm.
And, you know, part of it is, and I think I twisted your question in the opposite direction, but part of it is what some people don't realize for people that work in healthcare, if you don't make light of some of these situations, it will eat you up.
Mm.
Like, it's really mentally exhausting, emotionally, physically, everything working bedside in an ICU. It's
Yeah.
it's hard. I've seen some horrible things.
Do you remember the first time that you saw loss?
I vividly remember, I don't know that I would say it's the first time I saw loss, but something that really holds deep to me that I will never forget is the first time I had to withdraw life support on someone.
Mm.
And it was somebody a few years older than me, drug issues or whatever, ended up having a stroke. And I watched this mother lay on top of her only son as I withdrew life support on him. And like, you can't unsee that, you can't undo that, you can't unfeel that. It was really hard. It was on my brother's birthday, and
Mm.
I worked
Oh,
at night, so it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I was a new nurse too. I was recently off of orientation. So, I mean, this is the first time I've ever had to do this. I experienced it a few times with other nurses while I was precepting, but this was the first time my patient, my my thing. And it sucked. I had to go call my mom. Like, I didn't know what else to do. Um, 'Cause like, the night's over, you go home, you go to sleep, and you have to come back again. And it doesn't go away.
yeah.
How do you protect yourself emotionally in those environments?
Uh, I think having faith
Mm.
is something that I rely heavily on. Understanding that sometimes the shit that you think are really big deals and problems really don't matter.
Mm.
Fighting over stupid stuff isn't worth it. Not saying good night and I love you at the end of the night could be detrimental in the end. I had a patient one time, the last interaction she had with her daughter, she was making her daughter a birthday cake and they got into a fight and they were
Mm.
arguing and screaming at each other and she dropped to the floor and had a stroke and she was essentially brain dead.
Mm.
And
Ooh,
that was it. That was
jeez.
the last conversation that girl had with her mom. And she was young, I mean, it's just, it really makes you appreciate and be really blessed and grateful for the things that you have in your life because nobody's promised tomorrow. And
Mm.
when you see stuff like that, it reminds you that, nobody is, better than anybody else when it comes to these things. It can happen to anyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, being around death and uncertainty daily is definitely taxing. Do you get to see people leave healthily and go home more often than you
So
experience the death part of it?
So I'm glad you asked that 'cause it's funny because I look, I took some notes about, talking about these kind of things. And that was one of the things that I said about, where I worked with it being an ICU and a neuro ICU at that. Yeah,
Very special part.
sometimes people left, but I never really knew what the outcome was. I only
Mm,
knew if they went into a body bag or if they went to like the select specialty hospital across the street where they're trached, pegged, vented, and that's probably the reality of the rest of their life is a vegetable, which
wow.
is the hardest part about that job was, most of my patients were not neurologically intact. So what really was emotional and challenging was the family. I mean, these people are crushed. These people are, having to make these decisions about, stopping care on on their loved ones. And for people that are in their 80s, maybe the decision's a little bit easier, but when they're 47 and their 19-year-old kid has to make the choice, like
Mm.
it's
I know that you said that faith helps you get through that. Do you also go to therapy? Is this something that follows you home and you talk to your husband or, your mom or your dad? Like, how else are you able to cope with this just on a daily basis?
so one thing, so my company offers therapy. At one point I was open to talking to them. I think I maybe did like one session or whatnot. But ultimately, what I ended up doing is I left that environment and I
Mm,
moved to a different type of environment. I got to the point where I didn't want to go to work anymore
mm,
because I felt, you know, sometimes it was rewarding. I mean, there was a, a time that, I had a patient that the outcome was very poor, but they were an organ donor, and I got to go to the OR and watch the organ procurement and then take those organs and give them to 5 or 6 other people. So, I mean, yeah, it's still grim, but it's a beautiful thing when you can see such tragedy turn into something great, because if it
Sure.
wasn't for that person, making the choice to give life, those 5 other people may have died also.
Mm.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's what I had to do. I needed to get out before I got burnt out.
So who takes care of you, right? Who takes care of you when you're the one who's expected to take care of everybody else?
Um, now in my life, I have a family, and my mother-in-law is also a nurse, so she's somebody that I can relate to. My
Mm,
husband's hard to talk to about it because he is so far from the medical field that he doesn't really get that.
yeah,
But the department that I work in now is much different. I went from an ICU setting to a procedural department, and I do not deal with the loss and death and,
sure.
stuff like I did prior. And it was truly a blessing that I left when I did, because, this is just like daily, like nursing pre-COVID.
Mhm.
So what some of these healthcare providers, nurses, respiratory therapists, doctors, everybody that worked during the pandemic, I mean, it was probably what I just said amplified by 1,000. I mean,
Mm,
they really went through some serious
yeah,
shit during that time. Um, but like I said, I left that environment, so now I work in a different field, and now I get to see kind of a different perspective of nursing. I still see really sick patients, some sad cases, but ultimately, they come in, they have a procedure, they leave, and they're, good.
yeah.
We do diagnose like cancers and stuff, so sometimes it can still be heavy, but for the most part, it's definitely a lighter environment, and I needed that change. I needed
Yeah.
to get into a better place, because I didn't want it to eat me alive mentally, and I didn't wanna not be able to be there for my patients and for myself and for my family, so I decided that it was time to make a change.
When you're in the ICU and you're dealing with death every day, and then you also, you have 3 kids and you have a husband and you have a large family, like we already talked about. You have multiple brothers and sisters, you have multiple, nieces and nephews. It becomes a lot to have to manage all of that. And Nick, I guess I have a question for you, just from experience in the conversation that we had with Candice, the conversation we had last week with Gino, right? We're talking about these emotional labor, these emotional heavy jobs. Do you think that us as a society, we as a society underestimate, what these workers go through on a daily?
I do think society underestimates what um frontline workers deal with, whether it be nurses, firefighters, police officers. All these people deal with, for the most part, the worst of the worst every single day,
Yeah,
and expected to normalize it. And it's not normal to deal with death or loss every single
a
day.
frequent basis. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm sure when you're in the ICU, one death's a good day, you know?
yeah. It's I mean, it's incredible because, so many people are enamored by TikTok and being social media influencers and being digital creators where their life is so fluffy. And Nick and I have talked about the fakeness of social media, on and on and on, where I just don't think, yeah, people make posts, oh, thank you to our healthcare workers and thank you to our police and fire department. But I don't think they ever truly sit down and think like,
1 week ain't enough.
yeah, what has this person, what does this person put up with and sacrifice, to be in their line of work? And unless like you have somebody close to you, like a family member or maybe a close friend that works in something like that, I don't think it's ever something, that normal people think about. Unless they're maybe empaths and they like to think about, you know, the service that these
Well,
people put out there.
I don't think I don't want to misspeak here, but nurses don't normally complain about it. So normal people probably don't. I like a lot of these, at least the police, I'll speak on the police officers I know, they take it on the chin. They don't normally talk to anybody. They just take it,
It's just
wear it,
part of
go
the
to
job.
sleep and wake up and do it all over again,
Yeah.
and I was gonna ask, but I think I know the answer. I'm like, is the mental side almost more exhausting than the physical?
Uh, yeah, there were times that it
Good
was
question.
because it's exhausting. You know, the work itself is labor intensive too. I mean, especially in that environment where patients
Fast
are
paced, never
it's fat,
you're
but
always going.
the patients can't do anything for
Right.
themselves, and a lot of them are, obese and comatose, and I mean, they have to be turned, moved, bathed, taken to
Oh,
scans, and they don't move them on their own. So, the
right.
physical labor of it on top of the mental exhaustion that it creates, and then on top of, staffing issues and,
Mm.
budget cuts and, oh, we took your tech away. So now rely on your neighbor. Well, my neighbor also has two patients that are critically ill, or I have one that's trying to jump out of the bed all night. So, I said, I'm going to bow my hat to that portion of my career, and I moved on. I worked in that unit for about 4 years. I loved it. I learned a lot. I got to see a lot. I experienced a lot. I don't take any of it for granted. I don't regret any of it. I never complained about it, and I really did enjoy it. However, now I went from working nights to working days, and this is just more conducive for my lifestyle, for having a family. Now I'm in leadership and manage, so now I, manage people, which is a whole different mental exhaustion. But I don't have the emotional toll that, taking care of dying people every day had. So,
Yeah,
and I
Yeah.
will say that our even in our department, like, we have a mental health counselor that comes by, like, anytime that they're available all the time, but we unfortunately last year lost a team member, and, they came by and they were available, and they make themselves known, and they advocate a lot for us to seek their services, because there's a lot of people that they don't complain about it, they don't talk about it, they just kind of take it, bury it, move on the next day, and just keep going. And that's, I don't know if that's the expectation or it's just, the type of people that work in this environment, but the resources are there. So I would advise anybody, if they are struggling, to use the resources. With my insurance through the company, they provide 6 mental health counseling sessions free for me and my family.
mm,
So, if my child was going through something, or my spouse, like, they could also use that resource as well.
that's a great tool.
Yeah. That's that's beautiful. I know that you kind of just gave a nice close there. Probably should move forward from that, but I'm still going to ask, what's one last thing, that you would just want people to take away from healthcare, from being an RN, maybe things that have changed your perspectives on time and life. But what's one thing you'd like to share before we kind of close up this segment and move on to the next one?
Um, I would say, if if you are if your significant other is in healthcare, or you have somebody close to you who works in that environment, try and have a little grace and understanding that sometimes they deal with things at work that people outside of that environment could never imagine. So if they have a bad day or things aren't going so good, try and just kind of let it go. Don't sweat the
Yeah.
small stuff, because maybe there's a lot out there that's way worse than the person cutting you off, or burning your dinner, or having a bad day, because some people's what they call their bad day is not even close. So
Yep.
I'll leave it with
Absolutely.
that.
And as heavy as that all is, I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's like I said, it's very important that when we bring people on like yourself that work in these specialized field, we talk about it from the other side because we as non-essential workers only see it from one perspective. And I think it's important to talk about what you and other people in the healthcare field go through. So I appreciate you sharing that. But we move on from death and we move on, you know, from kind of the low stuff and we talk about joy. We talk about life and I guess my first question as we now go into life moments, family moments, what what is one way that you separate the doom and gloom in the RN world and the healthcare world and you experience joy in life? What's something that keeps you joyful, working in the healthcare field
In the healthcare field or
or
outside?
outside of
Yeah.
the healthcare field?
My kids, for
Yeah,
sure. My kids are little, so I don't even know what my answer would have been prior to that because it feels like life only started when they were born. But there's just nothing better than when you come home from work and your kid is so excited to see you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's definitely something that keeps me going, keeps me happy, and reassures me of my purpose, and kind of helps get through the times that are not so easy. I just know that, you know, life's not just about me anymore. There's people that depend on me that can't do it for themselves. So,
The play in the dirt, right?
yep. Oh man. Both
So
my
fresh and
kids,
so clean.
both my kids, man, they are dirt lovers.
I'll tell you what, I was visited by Caroline this weekend, and she is so adorable. She is your mini me, but I can't tell you how many times she asked me why.
Bro,
Why?
me too.
Why? I had to
It's
explain so many things to her, and even when I gave an explanation, like where let's take Tegan for example. Tegan will ask me why, and I'll give her an explanation. She'll be like, "Oh, okay," and
okay.
she'll walk
Yeah.
away.
No, not
Caroline
her.
digs deeper,
Oh,
and
she
she
sure
wants to
does.
know, like, the more like, the everything, even I had gone outside because it was pouring rain, I had to clear the gutters, and so the next morning, she was like, "Why is the ladder dirty?" And I was like, "Oh, it was remember I went outside?" And she's like, "Yeah, but, why didn't it get clean?" And then I was like I explained another thing about, like, why it sticks on, she's like, "Well, why is that?" And I'm just like, "Oh, geez." I'm digging myself to
Inquisitive.
places that I don't even know why
Yeah,
anymore.
I know. It's so hard because like she will literally like why and it's like you don't realize how hard it is to answer why to everything until you're really challenged on it. Cause
Yeah,
she I mean but I think part of it is the way that I answer her. I do not speak to her like she's a tiny like a little like a baby. I've never been
Mhm.
that way. I don't like the little baby talk. Like I've never
same.
talked to her that way. So I just talk to her like a tiny
Person.
person, you know?
Person, yeah, yeah.
And I think it's created a lot of independence in her. She's very intrigued by things. She's very observant and aware of what's going on. And she'll ask you why. And some of the things that I say to her, I can't think off the top of my head, but it's like, "Dude, like you're 4. Like, where do you come up with your follow-up questions?" You know? She's obsessed with the encyclopedia, like the children's encyclopedia. She
Oh,
loves the human body section of it. So we talk about it and, and she'll ask me, "What happens when you cut yourself?" "You bleed." "Okay, well, and then a scab forms." And then, "Well, what happens if you pick your scab?" "It'll bleed again, and it's because your skin's healing." And I'm explaining it to her, not like you probably would an average 4-year-old, but she's interested in it. So I just run with it. Like she'll tell you where your food goes. It goes in your mouth, down your esophagus, to your stomach, to your intestines, and then out your butt. And when I told her that the first time, she was like, "What?" But we practice it. So she enjoys it. And I love seeing life through her lens because it makes me get to kind of be a kid again and it's a lot of fun.
I love that.
That's
I love
awesome.
that. Speaking about life, I wanna talk about something that's pretty incredible to me, and now I just found out that I was incorrect. So you and your younger sister are each going on 3 kids, and every single time that you have been pregnant together. What is that like sharing the pregnancy alongside your sister? And this might be a TMI question, but were these pregnancies together ever planned, or has it always just happened that way?
It's so funny because they've never been planned, and it's really funny because, Hudson is 7 months older than Caroline, so we were pregnant for a short period of time together with that, but then with our sons, with our middle kids, I found out I was pregnant and my family found out, and my sister hadn't announced it yet, but she already knew she was pregnant. And then when we like announced that, we're both having babies and they're both due in March and they're due or a week apart, we're like, that's wild. And then they were born on the same day. So
Mhm.
they're 28 minutes apart. Um, which
Same
is
hospital?
no, she delivered out in Halifax and Daytona, and I was in Winter
Okay.
Park. And my mom was, like, jonesing because my mom's like, "Don't have the baby on Thursday because 'cause I'm going to Jeremiah's talent show. Don't have the baby on Tuesday." I'm like, "It doesn't work that way."
Yeah,
And
can't
she
hold
goes,
it in.
"Yeah, exactly." But she goes, "Well, whatever you do, just don't have them at the same time." I'm like, "Okay." So she's at the hospital with me, and my sister calls, and she's like, "I'm going to the hospital. My water broke." And she's like, "Oh my god, no way." Anybody who knows my mom knows, how over the top she is, and especially when it comes to her kids and her grandkids, there's, no better joy in her life. So that was a long day for her. They were literally born like 3:15 and 3:45-ish, like in the afternoon. And so they'll be having their first birthday together next month. And then I'm expecting again in the end of July, and she's expecting the end of August. So none of
Mm.
them were planned. My husband thinks it's kind of weird that every time we have a baby,
100%.
they have a baby. Um but it's a blessing. It's so awesome that our kids are so close in age because they love. I mean, the babies don't really know any better, but Hudson and Caroline really love hanging out and spending time together. But
Yeah.
this will be the last time we're pregnant together because this is going to be my last baby. So
Last baby. How old are you?
38.
Last baby at 38.
Yeah, man.
There you
Incredible.
go.
That's
Yeah, I'm getting
incredible.
too old for that. And my husband's older than me, so he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with me?"
I just I mean, it is just incredible how you guys could be pregnant at the same time.
Yeah,
You know,
it's been so much fun though because to go through everything together. We took maternity
yeah.
pictures together last time, and when she was pregnant with Hudson, she was big pregnant at my wedding, and then, she had Hudson in the summer, and then Carolyn was born in January. Last time, like, going through it, like, literally together, hand in hand, was pretty cool, and then I was a little shocked when she told me this time because I had a dream that she was pregnant, and then the next day I woke up and I was like, "Are you pregnant? Because I had a dream that you were." And she's like, "Well, your dream was right." I'm like, "No shit."
You'd
But
That
think that you guys
that's
were twins or
crazy.
I
something.
know, right? And people ask, "Oh, are they twins?" And I'm like, "No, just
Ever any resentment? Like, can I just enjoy this pregnancy without you being pregnant?
nah."
No.
No, because it's just I don't know. I was so lucky like growing up and even now like I never felt like rivalry with my siblings and competition with my siblings.
Mhm.
I've always just been like I kind of do my thing my way, and I don't really
Yep.
care if people want to join along. Cool. If not, fuck them. I'll go by myself. I'll do it myself. But I never had that with them. We didn't really fight with each other. I mean, we've had some issues along the ways, like most families do. But at the end of the day, families first, and I love that we get to share this time together.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Nick, do you have any moments from your younger years or with your brothers that measures up to Candace and her sister being pregnant together 3 times in a row?
No, both. I don't. If either of my brothers have any kids, it'd be a miracle. I just don't see that happening at all. No, no. That's actually hilarious to think about. Not at all.
So one trip that I want to talk about, kind of a callback to the beginning where we talked about songs and music, is and you said this before, was the Home and Home Jay-Z and Eminem concert. I don't
Oh,
know, Nick, do you remember this concert series?
I don't.
Okay. So it was what was it, Candice? 2010, 11,
10-ish,
12?
yeah.
10? It 10.
It was 2010,
It was
10 or
2010
11. It
because
was
it was the first ever concert at the new Yankee Stadium. I
okay.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium had just been built, and it was built in 2009, so it was 2010. So this concert, if anybody that hasn't heard of what the Home and Home tour, I guess they were at a baseball game or something, and they made an announcement that he was gonna have a concert in Detroit, and Jay-Z was gonna be with him. Well, then Jay-Z came out and was like, "Well, I'm gonna have a concert now at Yankee Stadium, and we're gonna call this the Home and Home concert series." They did 2 nights at each field, right? 2 nights at Comerica in Detroit and 2 nights in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, and it had to be one of the most star-studded, you know, concerts I had ever been a part of.
Mhm.
Do you recall, I guess, what are your memories on that, and do you recall who was there?
So I'll tell you one of the biggest memories I have about that is that I spent $18 on 2 Miller Lite bottles, and I was fucking pissed. And now, in today, 2026, that's a deal. That's a bargain. 2 beers for $18, you know?
That's one
But
beer now.
yeah, no shit. I'm like, times have definitely changed. Um, but I remember the lineup was insane. I mean, 50 Cent, Eminem, Jay-Z, Lil Kim. Didn't Drake even come out? Like,
Drake, Nicki
yeah, Nicki
Minaj,
Minaj. Didn't
Kanye West,
Beyonce,
Rihanna,
Beyonce. I mean,
Beyonce, yep,
everybody. Anybody who was
June, J.
anybody.
Cole,
Yeah, I
Mary
mean,
J. Blige
Holy
was there.
shit. No, yeah, there's a lot. Beyonce, Kanye, Rihanna, Chris Martin of Coldplay, Swiss Beats, Drake,
everybody.
Nicki Minaj, Memphis Bleak, Bridget Kelly,
It was
Mary J.
incredible. Like,
Blige.
we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, Drake and Nicki Minaj were very early into their careers still, and right? And all of a sudden they popped up, and then B.O.B. and Swiss Beats pop up, and you're just like, and
J.
then next
Cole
thing,
was there.
J. Cole, yeah, Mary J.
Yeah.
Blige, and it just keeps going. And in between all of this, it's Eminem and Jay-Z like doing their own thing.
Yeah, it was
It
pretty
was
sick.
I got the
an
whole set list
incredible
too.
concert.
That's great.
I think
Holy
the funnest part
shit.
about having to go back and edit this episode and look at some pictures is gonna be going through those pictures and videos from that concert that I can
They
repost.
both did
Yeah.
35 songs.
Dude, it was
It
incredible.
was pretty awesome. Chris, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Nick, just think about how many songs each of them have, and now put all of that other talent on top of it.
Oh, we forgot G Unit, Dr. Dre. We just talked about all the Jay-Z guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all M's
D12.
people. Yeah.
My God.
It was great.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
my band would have been so dope. Like, damn.
I don't know if they played. I don't remember them
They
playing
did.
my band, did they?
According to this, they did.
I don't remember what night we went. Did we go to night 1 or 2? Do you remember that at all?
No.
No.
September
at all.
13th or 2010.
Well, I do remember it was right around 9/11.
Well, yeah, the
Oh, wait, is that what you
13th
just
and the
said?
14th.
Is that what you just said?
So pretty close.
Nailed it, Chris.
I remember it being around 9/11 because we went to the 9/11
The
museum,
museum, yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
which
mm.
I don't know if it was newly built.
It
I don't think
probably was like,
it was the old, I think it was the old spot. It wasn't where the new thing is now, was it?
well, it's at the
Well, it's
old
not
spot.
new,
The new
but
one.
because the memorial that's there now When was that
Well,
one
before
built?
that memorial, I wanna say had we gone to New York before then?
Did we stay
Because I
with your
remember
cousin Chris when we went that
yeah,
time?
that was that time. So I think they had a makeshift 9/11 museum, and they might have still been building.
I think they did because I remember because I've been to the spot that's there now over
Yes.
where that big like cool building is. I was
Yeah.
there when Danny and I went to New York like 3 years ago. We went through all that stuff, but when the place that we went to was just like a memorial museum, right? It wasn't
Okay.
like where the
Yeah,
Twin
it
I
had to
Towers
think
have been.
so.
actually were.
Yeah, the new one opened in 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, 2014. Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember there still being a ton of construction and, like, walking around ground zero and, there was still I mean, this was, what, 9 years
9
after
years later.
9/11, and there was still just, like, so many
It
things
just wasn't
still
put
there.
back together, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. What do you remember about just being around New York City? Because we were still in high school,
No, we were out of high school. I had bought my house already that
2007.
year.
I
Yeah.
would've been in college. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
would've been in
'cause
college.
I remember, like I remember the day leading up to it, we'd had, like, a whole new, like, menu rollout at Stonewood, and I had a fucking migraine, and I couldn't, like, stay, and I went home and went to sleep. I missed my flight. Like, I missed my connecting
Oh,
flight to get to New York.
really?
Yeah.
I don't remember
Don't
that.
do that on don't do that, Nick, when you go to New York. Um,
Don't do that.
don't do that. Um, but leading up to going, I remember missing my flight and then us getting there, and I remember going where we go to, like, Union Square or something, like, afterward, and we were
Mhm.
walking
Yep,
around and
yep.
but I don't because I know that at some point like, I met up with my cousin Anna when I was up there too, because I remember she gave me, like, her badass, like, fluorescent Nikes for me to wear to the show. I thought it was
I
really
have a picture of
cool.
those.
Yeah.
I have a picture of those. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a really good time. If M ever tours again, we gotta go.
I think he's been talking about it, but I mean, just think about, like Kanye West is crazy now and Jay-Z
Right.
doesn't even perform anymore and 50 Cent has so much beef with everybody. Who
I
knows
know.
what he's doing? But I don't think we'll ever see
Oh, it'll never
that
be
many
that
hip hop
again.
artists
No,
together.
never.
No.
Do you remember do you remember the M concert we went to, like, years before that?
Yes.
That was
The
awesome.
the Eminem
The
show.
M show.
I believe it was in Tampa and it was Eminem and Ludacris
Yep.
and there was somebody else. Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
Busta Rhymes. And I just because I remember and it was me, you, my dad, and there was somebody else
My
there with
friend
us. I don't know.
Shauna
Oh,
Deviney.
was it Shauna?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so I'm pretty sure it was in Tampa because I know that we had to drive a while to get there, but I don't really remember too much from it aside from Busta Rhymes hitting his what's the song? Give me some more.
People had enough yet?
Give me
Give me
some
some
more.
more.
And hitting his rap part to that.
Yeah.
Nick, have you ever seen any of these people in concert?
Yeah, I saw Wu-Tang, Busta Rhymes, and Nas all together.
Nice. Yeah. I remember every Eminem concert I've seen has just been amazing and I wish he was still touring. I don't want to say I wish he was still on drugs, but he was a lot more entertaining back then.
That's crazy.
Candice, this has been fun. Give me one more memory, whether it's with me, with Nick, childhood now that just it reminds you, that life is still fun and when you're working through the heavy stuff of the life that you live now and just the chaos of the kids and the RN, what's one last memory?
One last memory. So I'll say one not last memory, but a recent memory when we met up and went to Busch Gardens and brought the kids. And it was just
Mhm.
kind of cool to that was probably one of the few times that we've actually gone together with our kids and got to be like big kids with them.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And it's exciting because I know it's the first of many. Like Tegan and Caroline love hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited for all the future memories that we're gonna make, with our kids and coming up soon for Morgan Wallen. We went from going to crazy rap concerts, now we're going to country concerts.
Yeah, which I'm still upset about because Candice plans this whole, let's go to Morgan Wallen and we can drink and we can bar hop. And mind
All
you, she knows
weekend.
she's
I
she knows
didn't know.
she's
I
pregnant.
didn't know I
Oh,
was pregnant. No.
you didn't
You
know
think I
yet.
no, hell
You
no.
thought she would do all that knowing?
I
She sounded
assumed maybe
man.
she
gassed
already knew
up
because
and
it wasn't that much longer that you made the announcement,
Well, no,
or at
because
least
it's it happens like this. You don't know one day, and then the next day you're like, "Oh fuck, I'm having a baby." It's like boom, it happened.
she's like, we're gonna do all this drinking and we're gonna be bar hopping around Gainesville, and then a few weeks later, it's like, oh, she's pregnant, so
By
we're
the
not gonna do
way,
any of that.
yeah. But I will say, so at Luke Combs, which was an awesome concert, and I had a great time. The memory was a little blurry because we had a really good time. So I am confident that this time it'll be the memories will be a little sharper.
But for Luke Combs, we were not sitting together. We
No, we
partied
were
in
not.
pregame,
We did.
but you guys were down low. We were up in the cheap seats. I'll tell you one last memory, and I hold this near and dear to the heart, is I got kicked out of Epcot with you.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's still one of my favorite things to talk about. But even though when people hear, oh, you got kicked out of Epcot, how do you do that? There's no crazy story behind it. It's just we had like 16 people drinking around the world, and apparently we drank too much and they cut us off. But it's still always fun to say we got kicked out of Epcot because apparently they can't kick you out. They
But they just advise
politely
you to leave.
advise you to leave. I remember I was talking to Preston about that, and he's like, yeah, I was telling people I was your lawyer and that if they didn't give us the drinks, we were going to sue Disney and we were going to do all these things. It was just.
I barely even remember that because by the time we got to Great Britain, I was doing Irish car bombs. I knew it wasn't going to end well.
Irish car bombs in
Oh,
Great
yeah.
I'm
Britain. Makes
convinced.
sense.
So my mom went back a little bit after Epcot, and they started putting up signs that said no sake bombs in Japan. And I am convinced
It's
it was because
you.
of us. Because one of my favorite videos is we're just all sitting around the table and we're just banging down on sake bombs. And that was always a tradition that because I think I ended up going like 3 years in a row. Haven't been in a while. Want to
Probably
get that
since
back
then,
there.
right?
Might go this year. Nick, you might have to break your sobriety. No, I'm just kidding.
Not
Take that
gonna
back.
happen.
Not for Epcot, bro.
Not for honestly, probably not for anything.
Good for you.
I'm good.
Nick, wrap me up. Wrap the segment up with one last question. Any other questions for Candice? This has been a fantastic episode. We've talked through so much. Anything that we haven't covered or that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, sure. If the younger you could see you now, what would she be the most proud of?
If the younger me could see me now, what would she be most proud of? I think she would be proud to say that hard work pays off and never give up, and that life as you grow older becomes more than one role. Stay true to yourself, and proud to be the friend, mother, daughter, sister, boss, spouse, all the things that I've accomplished in my life, and godmother. Almost forgot.
Are you sure? Are you positive?
But yeah, and I appreciate the friendships that I have with both of you, and your invitation to be a guest on the podcast. I truly enjoy it. I don't listen to a lot of music in my car because I do listen to this most of the time when I'm in the car on my way to work in the morning. So
Well, we appreciate you for
appreciate
that.
it.
We love
Thank you.
having our listeners on, like we
Yeah.
always say. You can message us at crodspod@gmail.com if you want to be a guest. My last question is, what was the feeling like when you heard me say that somebody else was Kinsley's godmother, and that person agreed that she was when only you knew the truth that it
Well,
was neither of that.
I never second guess myself. I'm like, I know for sure it was me. But I felt strongly enough about it that it was important for me to text you at 5:20 in the morning while going down I-4 in the dark.
I felt so bad.
But it's funny because not just in that episode, but a lot of times, and I don't know, I think the goal that you all try to achieve in your podcast is not only to, relay a message, but to make it feel comfortable and light, like a conversation. And what I do enjoy about it is that I am friends with both of you and I've known you for a long time, and it truly feels like weekly I get to jump on and have a conversation with you guys. Even though you can't hear me, I do participate and talk. So it's yeah, there's that. But yeah, when I heard you say that, I was like, "What?" I'm like, "How do you forget something like that?" But I was
That's
dying
so
laughing
funny.
because when Michelle like agreed to it too.
Yeah, I had no reason to believe it wasn't true.
I know.
And I was like, that's odd, but okay, like makes sense, I guess. And then when it all came out afterward, I was like, what an idiot.
I don't even think he was 100% sure that she was the godmother to Kinsley.
Nope. Nope. Not at all.
He's like,
you got-
my firstborn. She's like, yeah, we'll go with that.
my memory is so shot. Like if I were to ever be in the guest role of this podcast, and one of the hardest things for to do for me is like recalling all of these memories with the guests that I bring on, going through Facebook and Instagram and all of these things to try to figure out like what's something crazy that I've done with this person, or
Right.
what's something, memorable. And I think that's one of my favorite parts is just having my memory jogged, because there's so many times where I'll have a conversation with somebody, even if it's just Nick or a guest, and I'm like, man, I didn't remember that, but now I do.
Yeah.
Now that you say it, I do. And that's something that I've loved is just remembering all of these memories and going back. And one of the funnest things is going back on Facebook and going to some of the oldest chats and lines and memories. And it's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a blessing to be able to share this space with everybody. And we definitely appreciate you being on, one as a guest, two as a listener, as an active listener. Yeah, one day we're probably going to try and do a little bit more to get the audience involved. That's a part of Nick's plan as he continues to prep the growth of this podcast. But until we get there, it's just having people like you on. So we appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime. And I gotta say, I'm really proud of you guys for this journey that you've taken on, because I know it's a big commitment. It's a lot of trial and error, and I know it's probably
Yeah.
not always smooth and not easy. So kudos to you guys. You should be proud of yourself too.
Kudos,
Thank
baby.
you.
Well, with that, did you have one last thing to say, Nick, or are you just
I
smiling away?
something did just lodge. When was the last? I was gonna say we've known each other such a long time. Like you're always gonna be Cece to me.
Yeah, that you're honestly, Nick, you're one of the handful that ever knew me as Cece.
I know, and I'm like, to this day I catch myself like even with Chris, I'll be like Cece. He's like, oh my Candice.
Nope.
My daughter just woke up.
Good, invite her on. We'll interview her now. So this episode was fun. I think we talked a lot about how responsibility shapes us. It doesn't get to define all of us, like Candice mentioned. Even when you go down a field like RN and you find a specialty, it is, taxing, and it's always okay to, move back and move to something not as intrusive. Our mental health is very important. And I think that sometimes healing is realizing you did the best that you could with what you were handed. And when you're in a industry like healthcare, that's the most of what you can do. I want to keep talking about mental health. I want to keep talking about the healthcare field and unmasking the people that are in those fields. So if any part of today's episode hit home, please share it with a friend. Tag us at CrodsPod on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. We made our very first TikTok reel. I don't think it has any viewers, but we'll get there. We'll get there. It's at CrodsPod. Help us keep these conversations going. We drop new episodes every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. We are live on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. If you have a story, a topic, or you just need to vent, please email us at crodspod@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. We are here to talk to or talk for you. Our safe space is your outlet. And until next time, live fast, eat ass, or don't rush growing up because it's going to happen on its own.
We're not perfect. Them demons watching, but they will not stop me.